Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam, and I'm a non-gamer.
We are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at Heritage Farms and Verdant, Arizona by Galen's Games.
These two games come in 10 cans, and they are a part of a set of games from Galen Games that are currently running on Kickstarter right now. And there's just a few days left on this Kickstarter, so if you're watching this video, you want to make sure to jump on this while you can. Check out the link down below in the description of this video. All of these games come in these 10 cans. They're highly portable. Don't take up a whole lot of foot space to play these games. The two ones that we have here in particular can be played at the 1 or 2 player count. And so you can play this with a couple, play this by yourself. These are great little tiny games. Let's go down to the table where I'll show you how both of these games play, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on them as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, on the table right now is Heritage Farms. Now, I want to make sure you understand that what you see here and this portion of the video while I'm talking about Heritage Farms and Verdant, Arizona is prototype, so the final artwork components, maybe even some of the rules might change once it's released from crowdfunding. The first thing I'll show you are just these 10 cans here. As you can see, they do split apart like that. They are a tight fit, but everything does fit inside these 10 cans. They've got labels on the front and the back of the tin can. But anyhow, that's what you have here for the storage of this game. But let's talk about the actual game. Now, in Heritage Farms, you and the other player are going to be rival farmers that are abiding by tradition of having your farms on one side of the river. The space in between is the river, and your markets on the other side. And what you'll be tasked with doing in this game is using your boat to navigate amongst your farms and transporting one farmer and either one fox, the red cubes are foxes, chickens, or corn, and transporting it over here to the markets and trying to fill up 2 of your markets with 1 of each cube. So 1 fox, 1 chicken, 1 corn. But here's the catch with this game: nature's law. Whenever you leave a farm or market card, in any card, when you leave a card with no farmers on it, like this one up here, then what's going to happen is the chickens are going to eat all the corn. And so you would have to remove the corn cube from the card. And then after that, the foxes are going to eat all the chickens. And so you would have to remove all the chicken cubes. And that's one of the ways you can lose the game, is if you lose too many cubes, because you need these cubes in order to win the game. And so that's going to happen no matter if you remove the farmer that is on the farm, or if you remove the other players, if the other player removes their farmer off of the market. If there's a card that does not have a meeple on it, regardless of color, then nature's law is going to take into effect. So that's the idea with this game, but let's talk about how the game works. So starting with the first player will actually not take the first turn in the game. They will just simply place their boat out here next to one of these cards. And so you've got your farmer cards on the left and your market cards on the right. And obviously the orange player is going to be sitting across from me, and they've got their farm cards on their left and the market cards on their right. And so I place my boat, if I'm the first player, next to any one card, and that blocks that card off. The other player cannot move their boat to that card so long as it's blocked by myself. So then the second player actually takes the first turn in this game, and what you would be doing is taking your boat and placing it next to a card. And in this case, we've got the farm right here, but I'm going to switch this around. I'm going to say the orange player is the first player, and now I'm taking my first turn so you can see the right orientation of this. I would take my farmer plus any one of my cubes that are on that card if I'm going to a farm. And I'll show you what going to a market would look like here in a second. So let's say that I take my farmer and my fox. Now, these boats are teeny tiny. They're only going to hold 1 cube and 1 meeple, and doing this behind the camera is a bit difficult. And so I'm gonna hold it like this. And so now I would then move my boat over to one of my markets, so long as it's not blocked by the other player. And let's say that I go right here, and I'm going to drop off my farmer and my cube. Now, as you can see, my markets can only hold 3 cubes, and there are these tokens that are on top of these cards. Now, whenever you place your farmer on the market, you're going to place it on top of this token after flipping it over to reveal the bonus that's underneath it. There are going to be 4 different types of bonuses in this game. You've got this one up here that has a ×2 on it, and that tells you to fit 2 farmers on a market. You could spend the token to be able to move 2 of your farmers onto the same market, because normally you cannot do that. You can only have 1 farmer on each card. Each market, let me say that correctly. The one that I picked up right here is going to be the move a cube up or down 1 card, so I can move this fox up here later on or down here to the bottom if I needed to. This one right here, move your farmer up or down 1 card. And then this one right here, move your opponent's boat if they are blocking the exact spot that you need to go to. Now, I don't get to pick this up immediately. I'm going to leave my farmer on it. Later on a future turn, if I pick up this farmer to bring it back over to one of the markets, then I would get to claim that token, and I could use it on any turn thereafter once I've claimed it. So that's how one version of a turn would work. Let's pretend that we've moved some other things over, and it's later on in the game, and let's say that that guy's not right there. So then on a future turn, you could go back to the same place that you just visited. That is legal. But let's say that I come up here and I pick up this farmer right here. I would then obviously get to take this token because I'm picking up the farmer. I would put the farmer back on the boat, and I would move him back over here to this side of the river. It would need to be a place where I don't have a farmer, placing him on the farm section of my card. You never place your components on the other player's portion of the card. But again, I do want to point out something. Let's say that the orange player here were to go right here. And let's say that he were to take his chicken and put it on the boat and then come over here and drop it off. Now, nature's law is going to take into effect on this card right here because there are no farmers on either side of the card. And what's going to happen is my chicken would eat their corn, but their fox would eat my chicken. And so that's how nature's law is going to work. And that's how the craftiness of this game works. Whenever you have removed your farmer off of a card, hoping that the other player's farmer is going to stay, but then they take their farmer off of the card. And so you can see how chaos can ensue when that happens. And again, what you're trying to do in this game is you're trying to get 2 of your markets to be completely full with 1 of each cube. If you're the first player to do that, then you win. There are a couple of other things about how you can lose this game. If you lose, you lose if you lose any 3 goods. So you want to make sure that you are keeping good track of your goods and not losing them. Now, when you're playing in the solo version of this game, you're actually playing against your idiot cousin, Elmer. And it's sort of cooperative, but your idiot cousin is going to be doing a lot of dumb stuff, and you need to watch out for him. It plays pretty much similar to what you just saw, except you're going to incorporate this D4 right here, as well as this token right here, and you'll be placing it above the column on the right with the start sign showing, and you're going to roll this D4 to tell you what card Elmer is going to go to, and he's then going to pick up goods as denoted by this token and transport them across the river. And it's the same concept of the game. Once he gets so many farmers over here on this side, then you would flip this token over and move it over to this side, and this token again just differentiates prioritizes which different cubes he's going to pick up. So in this case, the fox over the chickens, and then the corn, and then on this side the chickens over the corn and the fox. So anyhow, but that's how that's going to work. Now, there are additional win and loss conditions when playing in the solo mode. So Elmer, he's going to win. Again, it's like semi-cooperative. You got to watch out for him. He's going to win if he gets any 3 of his goods over to 2 of his markets before you. Elmer has at least 2 goods on all of his markets. He's going to win. If he loses any 3 goods, he actually wins. So that's what I mean by it's like semi-cooperative. You got to cooperate with him to make sure that he's not losing his goods. You wouldn't do that in a multiplayer game. You want that to happen. And then obviously you lose if you lose any 3 of your goods. You can make the solo mode hard and extra hard with this handout. There are a couple of modules to add to this. You've got the poisoned corn, and so what this is going to do, if you include this into your game, wherever these tokens are on that card, the corn is poison, and if you leave it unsupervised and there's chickens on there, the chickens are actually going to die because the poisoned corn kills them. The corn stays, the corn does not get eaten, but the chickens do get removed. And then likewise, your zombie chickens are going to have the same effect to the foxes. If you leave them unsupervised with foxes, the foxes actually die. The chickens don't get eaten. And so, yeah, you'll have to work around the craftiness, the trickiness of these tokens. So that's what you got here with Heritage Farms. Now I'm going to swap over and talk about Verdant Arizona. All right, here's Verdant Arizona on the table. And again, I want to remind you what you see is prototype. So what you have here with this game, you've got a stack of square, small-sized cards. You've got this car meeple. You've got these cactus wren tokens that you're going to be placing on the cards that show the cactus wren icon. And you've got your rules and your handouts as well. And so that's what you got here for components. Let's talk about how this game plays. You're going to have a 3x3 grid market of cards. Now, at the start of the game, these cards are going to be face up, but as the game progresses, some of these cards will be face down. And starting with the first player will place this car somewhere in between any two cards. So maybe like right here. And just like it was in Heritage Farms, the second player will actually be the one taking the first turn. And what you can do, you can move this card up to 2 spaces for free. And by spaces, I mean like 1, 2, like so. You could turn around for one of your turns and then move it for your second turn. But wherever you end up with leaving the car, you will have to select one of the cards that are adjacent to the car. And you'll be placing that in your own 4x4 grid that you're building off to the side. So for instance, let's say I take number 21 here. It's a yellow card. And what's going to happen is I'll just be placing it in my grid. But once I have one in the grid, then I have to place my next card either somewhere adjacent to it, up, down, left, right. Diagonal is not considered adjacent in this game. And then I would refresh the market, placing this card face down. And it would be the next player's turn. But let's say they end up moving the car here, and they take this card right here, and we place this one back out here again. And now it's my turn again, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to move the car right here. I don't have to move it 2 turns. I could move it only 1. But let's say I take this one. Now this card right here has a gecko on it, and the geckos are extremely rare, and you want to try to get the geckos. The geckos are going to give you extra bonus points if you are able to put them wisely into your grid. Now, what are we doing with the grid here? Well, you've noticed that the cards have numbers on them, and you'll be making a 4x4 grid, and you'll want those numbers in the rows and columns to either ascend or descend accordingly. You don't want to mess up that order. So in other words, I would not want this 3 here to be in between my 21 and 12 because that messes with the order. The numbers are not ascending or descending. They're going up, down. But if I placed it to the right of the 12, well, now the numbers are descending. And so that's good. You want that. So if you are able to complete a 4x4 grid where a row or a column ascends, or excuse me, this would be descends or ascends, then that row will score you 1 point. That row or column will score you 1 point. If it has a gecko in it, you'll actually get 2 points. Now, you won't get a point for the gecko at all if the row or column does not ascend or descend accordingly. You will get no points in that case. And as you can see, you can skip over numbers. That's okay. It just needs to ascend or descend. And on top of that, if at the end of the game, let's say I've built up my grid, and I'm just going to incorporate some of these cards that are out here. Let's say that I have, here we go, and pretend that there's another row down here. You can't really see it, but pretend that there was. If you have a quadrant, that means all 4 cards that are in your top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. If your quadrant is all of one color, well, then that's going to give you 2 extra points. So I would get 2 extra points right here, but I would not get the 2 extra points right there because this white card disrupts that. And so that's how the scoring is going to work. But let's come back to the market grid right here, because I want to explain how these face down cards are going to work. Now, this little car, it can travel around the outside of the board. You could put it way out here, for instance. And let's say that this card right here is face down and this card right here is face down. Now, remember, the car can move up to 2 spaces for free. And so by moving it 2 spaces, 1, 2, this is about as far as this car could get if it was way out here. And if it's determined by both players that the car could not get to anywhere in the market where there's at least one face-up card to be able to choose from, that's when you flip over these face-down cards. And so we wouldn't actually move the car. You can't get to anywhere in the market out here to one of these cards way over here on this side. So in that case, we would flip over these face-down cards, and now we can see what new cards we're working with. The only thing we haven't covered are these Cactus Wren tokens. Now, again, you get these Cactus Wren tokens when you pick up a card that has one on it. You can spend one of these on your turn to move the car 1 extra space. You can spend 2 of these on your turn to swap the position of any 2 cards that are already slotted into your 4x4 grid. That's pretty much the gist of the game. You play until both players have 4x4 filled up over here on their personal grids, and then you would score it like I explained to you earlier, getting 1 point for every row and column in ascending or descending order, plus 1 point for every gecko in a row that's scored. You would not get points for geckos in rows that don't score. 2 points for every quadrant where 4 cards of the same color, and if there is a tie, then it's the player with the most Wren tokens left after. If you want to do advanced scoring, you can. You get 1 point for every row and column of a single color. Now, there is a solo game, and in the solo game, you'll be competing against Vera. Vera is going to be playing much differently. She is going to be keeping a stack of cards. She's not going to build up a grid. She's going to play it pretty much the same way as you play it, moving the car out here. But she's looking to prioritize getting the same color card as many times as possible, and then cards with geckos on them, cards with the least number. And then if all else fails, then she'll just take whatever you give her. But she's going to get points based off of what card color she has the most of, and then you will be competing against her in your standard scoring mode. So that's how the solo version of this game works. And again, it comes in a little tin can like I showed you with Heritage Farms. But that's what you got here with these 2 games. Now let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this one. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on Heritage Farms and Verdant Arizona. Let's start with Verdant Arizona first. So as you saw in the rules portion of the video, this is a game in which you are going to be moving the little car around the tiles. It's a little puzzly type game as you have to select the tiles very carefully, placing them in your grid, wanting the numbers to ascend or descend, trying to get those geckos for the points in this one. What'd you think about that one, Sam?
Yeah, this one was fun. It was definitely, it seemed really easy at the beginning when you had a lot of options.
Right.
And then as you got to the end, it definitely became more challenging the further the game went.
Definitely a tricky one that you have to kind of think through your turns. And not only that, but then you're trying to picture, where can this car go? How can I make it get to where I need it to be? How can I work with the choices that I have in front of me? And those choices dwindle down until you've got no choice available, and then you get more choices. And so it's definitely a challenge trying to figure out how to make that work. As far as the non-gamer gamer aspect go, how did you think that one worked for that aspect?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a great game for non-gamers. I think it may be a little bit easy for some gamers, but I think if you're trying to get a non-gamer to start playing more games, it's a good starting point.
Yeah, I think it's a definitely good starting point for the type of game that's, like where you're lining things up and each line has a scoring condition.
There's definitely other games you can build onto this type of strategy.
Yeah, for sure. Downtown Farmers Market is a game that's kind of like that, if you're familiar with that one. But this is a little bit more streamlined than that, and it's got this puzzly aspect of you can only draft where the car is at, so you got to figure out that spatial aspect with the game. It's got like 2 different spatial aspects going, which is a very interesting concept with it. Let's talk about Heritage Farms. Now, this is a different kind of puzzly game in which you are trying to maneuver a boat between 2 lines of cards, And the trick with this one is trying to balance out the foxes and chickens and corn with the farmers. You don't want to leave, it's got a little bit of paper, rock, scissors almost. You don't want to leave the chickens alone with the foxes, but you also don't want to leave the corn alone with the chickens.
Yeah.
And you don't want to make sure you're taking your farmer away and then your opponent can come and take their farmer away, and it hurts you in the long run. And so you really got to balance that out and watch out for the cleverness with this one. What did you think about this game?
Yeah, this game, when I first saw it, I wasn't sure how it was even possible. But then you slowly realize, okay, one step at a time, I need to move this over here and then move my farmer here, and you figure it out.
Yeah, I think with this one, the thing about it that impressed me so much is just how much the game can turn on 1 or 2 turns.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like a chess match where you can be so confident, and then in 1 or 2 turns you realize it's checkmate.
Yeah.
Or it could be the other way around.
Those little extra moves you get to make a big difference.
Yeah. The bonus tokens, being able to move the cubes or move the farmers. Yeah, exactly. That definitely makes a big difference in this one. And it's almost one of those things that could be easy to overlook because you're just so focused on, I don't want to leave my cubes alone. I got to be very attention to detail. And if you forget those bonus tokens, you're missing out on a huge part of the strategy with the game. What did you think about this one when it comes to non-gamer gamer aspect? Yeah,
I think kind of the same thing. It's a great learning that specific strategy. You can build on it with other games. But as small as it is, it's a really good game for gamers to play with non-gamers and kind of have in their back pocket.
I think they're both really good puzzly kind of experiences to try to solve. I feel like the puzzle aspect with this one was very challenging in the sense that like you sort of feel like, man, is there a good choice even to be had with this? And sometimes you just got to make the best with poor choices of what you have available.
And I feel like this was much more strategic.
Yes, this one is absolutely more strategic. This one is figuring out what you can do, work with what you've got. And this is, you got to figure out the right answer kind of thing. So definitely interesting puzzly experiences. As far as the solo goes, I played both of these solo, and they're very much enjoyable experiences. I feel like this solo experience is one that is definitely very puzzly and challenging and replicates that feel that you get with the multiplayer experience. And the solo experience with this one too is very enjoyable as well. It is still very much trying to figure out how to work with what you've got available to you. So there's going to be some games where you feel like you've got great options and you can score a lot of points, and then there's going to be some games where it just doesn't go that way for you. So very interesting experiences here. I love that they come in tin cans. And yeah, it's just a very cool games. Yeah, exactly, great travel games. So the games we got here, Heritage Farms and Verdant Arizona, they are running on crowdfunding right now. So again, make sure to check out the link down below in the description of this video after you watch it. And do it soon, because this Kickstarter is going to be ending up very, very soon. They come to us from Galen Games. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about these 2 games.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.